we talked earlier in the week, and you mentioned something that was very interesting to me. I forgot how you put it, but you're like, pretty much, was Dame a fraud like this whole time? So I wanted the masses to hear us discuss this because we both have said numerous of times that Damian Lillard is one of our favorite players, but he's not having a great season at all. So Bryce, is Damian Lillard a fraud to you at this point?
Um, I still won't go as far to like really commit and say a fraud, but maybe he had a way of sneaking past us in a sense to where, for some reason, like guys like James Harden and to an extent Trey Young had reputations of like you kind of like jumping into fouls, like flailing almost in a way to get a foul, right? And I know with the rule change, it's been a topic of contention this year, and Dame has even spoken out to how the refs are calling games, and he seems to really have an issue with it, and it seems to be affecting his game. And I think in hindsight, we would never had really thought that. Like, he just didn't get the kind of attention for and the kind of reputation not like Harden did. Like Harden was probably the poster boy for it, and I know a few people have already come out, kind of said that, including maybe I think what even Steve Nash mentioned the
Yes,
focus
Steve
on
Nash did.
Harden.
Yeah.
Trey Young is another name I mentioned, but Damian is just not a guy I would have picked to have been having issues like this. I mean, he had like 4 points or 6 points one night. It's not like him. Um, and to see the slump in the shooting with like a lot of players, I mean, it doesn't seem to be affecting Stephen Curry, which is impressive in itself. But
Right.
like, there's a few guys it's really hindering, and Damian is just one of them I wouldn't have put my money on. And so it's got me like rethinking my opinion of him a little bit. Not to say he's like a fraud, but to be thinking that well maybe he wasn't as good as I thought.
Okay. So I have the numbers pulled up here because I heard it and I haven't watched a lot of Portland this season so far. They're just too late for me to play. To watch them. I just can't. Um, in 16 games so far, I'm not sure if this includes last night game where they actually beat Philly. But we know Philly doesn't have Embiid still. 16 games this year, Damian Lillard is averaging 21.6 points a game. Now, for his career, he's averaged 24, but from what I've been hearing, the 21.6 is his lowest point total since his rookie year. But here's the frightening thing about that. Um, his field goal percentage from three was at 37. Career right now is at 29. Very
Yeah,
bad for a volume 3 point shooter. And even his field goal percentage, career is 43%. He's at 39. I think it's a couple of things going on here. One, I think he's checked out. Even though he's saying he wants to stay in Portland, I just think mentally he's checked out. And two, I actually think there's something up with them switching the ball. I think he's having a hard time adjusting to the ball. Um, More so than the rule change, because like you said, I just never saw Dame fishing for fouls. I never saw it. But I
mm,
think it's the ball switch, and then also him just being mentally checked out. Do you think he could be checked out at this point?
yeah, or not even like he probably doesn't even realize it as much himself. It's just like when when the complete enthusiasm isn't there 100% all the time. You might even say and think you're giving 100%, but you might be lying to yourself or triggering yourself a little bit. Something's definitely off. I think the disengagement with the team could be there, like you said. Like he's not feeling just not feeling it as much as he usually has, and the ball could be an issue. The weird thing about the ball is not as many people are bringing it up. Like
Right.
if Damian is the one with the ball in his hands, he's the one that knows who he like what it feels like to play as him, and he hasn't even mentioned the ball, and he's mentioned the reps and the
Mhm.
calls. So I do think it's a part of it, but how big I don't know. And to me, I just keep going back to the golden standard, which is Stephen Curry. Stephen Curry is having no problems. There's some players in the league having no problems. So to me, if it was the ball, everyone, absolutely everyone would be talking about it. But there's some people not talking about the refs because it's not bothering them because
Right,
their game
right,
doesn't rely on it.
right, right.
Damian having to talk about it is like, well, now we have to figure out what the real issue is because something's going on. And only a few
Well,
people are super affected by this rule change. Most of the league seems to love it.
the only person I've heard say something bad about the ball was Paul George, and his overall game hasn't been affected by the refs because he doesn't fish for fouls. So he did mention the ball. I
Mhm.
do know the other night in Brooklyn, it looks like the refs reverted back to their old way of calling things because I saw James Harden went to the free throw line 20 times, and that's excessive for any one player in one
Mhm.
game. And from the Magic fans, I gathered that it was a lot of bullshit calls being being called against the Magic.
Mhm.
So hopefully that's not a trend because I do like the way that they're calling the games. They're actually allowing the game to be more physical, which is why we've had a couple of skirmishes in the last couple of weeks because these guys are out there just battling. So I like that aspect of the game. But
Mhm.
yeah, this thing with Dame is a little it's a little surprising. It is because we
Yeah.
have rarely criticized Damian Lillard, but something is amiss right now in Portland, and I can't quite put my finger on it. But once they make their East Coast trip, I'll be able to check it out.